with that down, let's move on to the final main topic today. And our final main topic today is sent in to us from Johnny5, who writes, "Hi, John. Patreon supporter here." Well, thank you for being a Patreon supporter, Johnny. I appreciate that. "I read an article from comicbook.com that George Lucas gave his approval to the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences to screen the original 70mm print of Star Wars: A New Hope this past weekend. Do you think this is the first step in releasing the original version to the public? Finally." All right, thanks a lot for that. And you know what? I believe, I can't say for 100% certainty, but I believe Rob may have gone to that screening. I think because we were talking about it before it happened, and I would have tried to go, except I had already had plans, so I couldn't. But yes, for those of you who didn't hear about this, the Academy held a special screening of the original print of Star Wars. And then they did this Q&A that was broadcast over, I believe it was live streamed on YouTube afterwards, with like George Lucas's ex-wife, who was the editor of the film, and a couple of other people. Anyway, fascinating stuff. So they played this thing, and it's the original. Now, just to be clear, I've heard conflicting things. There are some people saying that George Lucas gave his consent for them to do this screening. I have heard other people say that they didn't need George Lucas's consent. They own that print that they have, and they're free to show it in one of their own facilities anytime they want. I don't know which is true, to be honest with you. I suspect Lucas probably did give his consent because he is a huge supporter of the Academy. He loves Hollywood history and all that kind of stuff. And even though he wants his special edition Star Wars films to be considered the true Star Wars films, I believe he still does have a sense of history and doesn't mind it if an Academy does a screening for it for history's sake every once in a while. But again, let's be clear, I don't know for sure. Conflicting reports, some say they didn't need his permission, some say he gave his permission. Whichever is true, I don't think George Lucas would have minded either way. This brings us to the bigger issue. Fact of the matter is, the special edition, Star Wars the special edition stuff is out there. And in George Lucas's mind, and he is the owner of Star Wars, well, not anymore, but Star Wars is his thing, his creation. As far as George Lucas is concerned, the Star Wars special editions, which you see over here, take precedence and are the only true version of Star Wars now. As far as George Lucas is concerned, the original released versions of Star Wars are not a real thing anymore. They do not exist as far as he's concerned. They are no more Star Wars than if you and I made a fan film, in George Lucas's eyes. I could make a Star Wars fan film right now, and George Lucas thinks his original version of Star Wars is no more legitimate than any fan film that I make right now, because it's not the real thing. The real thing is the special edition. Now, I'm like everybody else. The original edition, to me, is the only true version of Star Wars. Don't get me wrong, I've got some appreciation for the special edition stuff. There are good things in the special editions. There are. There are some really horrible things in the special editions too. I prefer the original editions, but, you know, give the devil his due. There are some improvements in the special editions, and there are some things that are really quite nice. Of course, that doesn't make up for Jabba, and that doesn't make up for Jabba's Palace's band, and it doesn't make up for the fact that they got rid of the Ewok celebration song at the end of Return of the Jedi. Are you kidding me? Anyway, I'm still upset about that. I'll get over it in the next 20 years. Anyway, to me, the only true version of Star Wars is the original edition, but the only opinion that counts is George Lucas. Now, when George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, a lot of people just assumed that that heralded the fact that we were going to get, Disney will want to make that money, and so Disney will release the original versions of Star Wars on Blu-ray and 4K, and we'll get the original Star Wars back because Disney owns it yet. Now, yay! Well, there was a problem. George Lucas, as a part of that agreement in selling it, Disney had to pretty much agree that the special edition is the only thing that actually exists anymore. So concurrent with their agreement with Lucas, they can't release the original versions. Everybody thought, well, Disney owns it now. They can do whatever they want. No, they can't. Look, if I sign a contract, let's say you sell me your car, and I sign a contract with you that says, yeah, I own the car now, but you put as a provision in the contract of sale that says, I cannot paint that car purple for whatever reason, and I agree to that stipulation, then I can't ever paint that car purple. Even though the car's mine, I can't paint the car purple unless I want to face the consequences. Whether the consequences would be you get the car back, whether the consequences would be I get fined, whatever. But, you know, George Lucas, to him, the special edition is it. So, do I think that this special screening of Star Wars that they did at the Academy heralds a possible golden day when we're going to get the original versions of Star Wars re-released as they should be? No. No, I don't. Do I think it'll ever happen? Yes, but not until after the very sad day that George Lucas is no longer with us. After George is no longer with us, and the rights, whatever contractual obligations, as a beneficiary of contractual obligations, the beneficiary will pass from George to one of his heirs. At that point, one of George's heirs, whoever he bequeaths that to, they could then have the power to reverse that and go on. But I don't think George will ever, as long as George Lucas is alive, I do not think he will ever agree or approve of a release of the original Star Wars versions. Because to him, those no longer exist. It is only the special edition. I don't like it. I'm with you guys. I don't like it. But we have to accept it. That's the way it is. And we shouldn't get our hopes up for anything else. Now, who knows? Who knows? George Lucas is human. As human beings, over time, our thoughts change, our opinions change, we get a different perspective, our context changes, our points of view changes. As a human being, maybe it is possible that at some point in the future, George Lucas agrees to allow Disney to re-release the original versions, put them up on Disney Plus, whatever. Maybe that happens, but it's unlikely. And I think what is best for us as Star Wars fans is to just accept it. Just accept it and understand there's probably going to be another 15, 20 years before there's even a hope of us getting at that. But who knows? More surprising things have happened before. What do you guys think about this? Do you think that at some point George Lucas will allow the original versions of Star Wars to be re-released out to us? Or do you think, nope, as long as he's around, they don't exist? I want to know what you guys think. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys.